I'm Demethius Jackson, and you're listening to a reading of my book entitled The Realmsic Conquest, The Hero of Legend. Chapter 59. Damien relentlessly galloped across the lands of the east, knowing that Maebus and the allied armies were not far behind. Through the desolate conditions of Upper Damastad, they pursued him, traversing its scorched earth and enduring the intensity of the Realmsic sun. Damastad was once a thriving land of rivers and lavish greenery, but now existed mostly as a desert. As a demonstration of his strength, Damien had exterminated its people and laid waste to the area during his earliest conquest. Now, using the wasteland as a natural barrier, Damien had erected a secret fortress far in the east. There, he positioned a separate legion of warriors, independent from his primary fighting infantry. Though slightly smaller in number, these reserved legionaries protected the fortress day and night. Feeding off the glory of his conquest, they trained tirelessly in preparation for his return, hoping that one day they too would be called upon to fulfill his purpose. That day had come. By the thousands, the legionaries fell into formation as Damien's Silver Panther came to a halt before them. Their ranks extended the length of the land, surrounding the entire exterior of the fortress. Never had Damien felt so determined as he hopped down from the saddle. With a single hand raised in the air, he greeted his men. Despite receiving word of his surrender of the Realmsic castle and his hasty retreat, they collectively cheered for him like a conquering hero returning home. As the hot air blew dust into their faces, Damien stood before them as a fortress of solitude and power. He took the Realmsic crystal from around his neck and raised it high towards the sky. "They cannot win!" he declared. His legionaries chanted wildly and pounded their fire swords into their armor. Damien confidently walked through their ranks of cheering warriors, headed towards his fortress. With his panther strolling by his side, he climbed the steps of the entrance while his mind raced through a number of potential battle scenarios. He deliberately forced the Realmsic allies into a long, burdensome pursuit across Upper Damastad, in hopes of wearing them down. Now, with his fresh infantry, along with the stragglers who fled with him from Centerpoint, he intended to pummel Maebus with the full force of the crystal. Damien donned a fake smile as he entered the fortress. Like his enemy, there was much at stake for him, and this battle would be for all or nothing at all. Weather-worn and exhausted, the Realmsic alliance, led by Maebus, Kilm, Leoden, and Normandy, arrived at Damien's fortress. Standing a significant distance from the structure, Maebus couldn't believe his eyes. The fortress, erected completely of stone, stood before them, ominous and menacing. Upon seeing it, Leoden's calm features transformed into an angry scowl. The general also seemed to be affected, suddenly gripping his chest as if his heart ached. "Normandy," Maebus began, but the general shook his head. "This fortress represents everything that is wrong with the realm." His voice shook as he spoke each word. "Its presence is nothing more than a beacon of hate, and I swear to you, on the blood of my family, and by the might of the first wizards, that I will dispatch this fortress with extreme prejudice." He raised his tightly clenched fist. "Just as I did General Thane." His chilling words sent a shiver down Maebus' spine. Kilm shook his head at the fortress in disgust. "When did Damien even have time to build this?" "Apparently he's been very busy," Leoden replied. Maebus gazed upon the massive formation of legionaries. The winds carried their war cries across the land to their position. No doubt they've been waiting here all along, dying of a thirst for blood. "It's here that we either live on or die," Maebus said. As their group surveyed the landscape, the Realmsic infantry assumed their combat positions. The trek of thousands across the barren lands had proved more than challenging, but no one had come this far only to falter now. Together, the forces of the realm and the Western nations stood unified, ready to lay everything on the line. "How would you like to proceed?" Normandy asked, snapping to attention, standing bone straight. Maebus looked at the people before him, his friends, his brothers. Their journey of trials and tribulations all came down to this. "Tell the Allied commanders to send their troops forward immediately." Maebus then looked straight into Normandy's eyes. Afterwards, I want you to take command of our entire Realmsic infantry. Hit the Legion with everything we've got. Kilm, Leoden, and myself are going directly after Damien, so we'll need you to keep his fighters away from us. Aye, Commandant, Normandy saluted. Maebus returned it and then extended his hand. Without your help, we may have never gotten this far. Fight well, General. This ends today. Normandy shook his hand before riding off. Kilm, are the crucifers prepared? Maebus asked. Indeed. Okay, when our charge begins, unleash their uncompromising fury. Maebus then turned to Leoden, who up to that point was keeping a close watch on Damien's legion. In the previous battle, the young warrior had proven to be every bit as skilled as the realm's most experienced soldier. Leoden, Maebus called, grabbing the young man's attention. It goes without saying, you fought extremely well back at Centerpoint. However, I need not tell you that the worst is yet to come. He placed a hand upon his arm. I don't pretend to understand the intricacies of magic and prophecy, but I do understand the skills of a good warrior. One way or another, you're our best chance for victory. Therefore, I'm not letting you out of my sight. Leoden smiled, nodding his appreciation. But before Maebus could continue, a bright flash of light stole their attention. It appeared as a speck in the distance, but before they knew it, a screeching fireball was upon them. Scatter! A soldier yelled just before the fireball impacted their vicinity. Maebus, Kilm, and Leoden were thrown back by the blast. The enemy had fired the first shot. Now it was time to return the favor. Crucifers, engage! Kilm commanded as he picked himself up. Instantly, a Realmsic inferno lit up the sky. Maebus rose to his feet. He watched the smoking mass trail towards the fortress and impact a few enemy ranks. With fire swords in hand, the other legionaries ran indiscriminately towards the allied forces. So much for strategy, Maebus said to himself. Drawing his battle sword, perhaps for the very last time, he pointed it forward. Engage the enemy! Attack! The allied and Realmsic forces charged unflinchingly into battle. Maebus saw Normandy racing towards the head of the pack, galloping at full speed at the approaching legionaries. He whipped his horse's reins, speeding faster until finally plowing into the enemy. Within the midst of battle, Maebus gained his bearings. To the fortress! He yelled at Leoden and Kilm. The sounds of combat were deafening, yet the three pressed forward through the madness. Only engaging combatants if necessary, they were determined to make it to Damien. Maebus hacked away at legionaries as if they were untamed wilderness. Kilm covered their sides, firing hand blasts at anyone not armored as an ally. Leoden protected their rear with his wood axe. Glancing several meters from their location, Normandy had abandoned his horse. Towering above his opponents, he punched legionaries in their helmets with his bare hands. Maebus couldn't help but laugh. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to share it.